Hello everybody, this is another Hot Wheels collector video. Today we are looking at the Mercedes-Benz 500e. This car features in the 2023 Canyon Warriors set, which is a car culture set. I will quickly mention where I actually found this car then. So I found this car in a pretty local The Entertainer store at the price of £7.20. And yeah, that was really exciting when I found them at such a low price. The standard UK retail price is about £9, so these were significantly cheaper. And obviously I checked the cars over to make sure the condition was something that I was happy with, and yeah, they were pretty much immaculate. So I picked them up, or at least all the ones I could find. The only one that was missing was the Sierra, and I'm personally not interested in the Volvo. It's not the casting, it's just the colour. I did like last year's colour of it. I think it was that blue one, wasn't it? And I think it had a chase. I really did like that version of it, but I just don't like the orange version for some reason. Again, it just does not pique my interest. But anyways, let me give you some facts about the real life car before we get into the showcase of the Hot Wheels model. So in real life, this car has a 5 litre V8 engine, which produces 326 horsepower and 356 pound-feet of torque, converting to 480 newton meters of torque. This car also has a 0 to 60 in 6 seconds flat and has a top speed of 155 miles per hour. That's the equivalent to 250 kilometers per hour. This car is also rear-wheel drive, however it had an optional all-wheel drive system. The retail price of this car in 1992 was $82,000, which is the equivalent to £67,000. Now this car has an average market price of $37,000, or about £30,400 here in the UK. Anyways, that's it for the facts about this car. Now let's take a look at the actual Hot Wheels model. Alright, so kicking off this showcase then, we'll first of all take a look at the side of this car, and I will first of all mention the wheel choice on this thing. So this car is rolling on the premium Rio Rider 5-spoke exotic wheels, which first debuted in 2007. On this car in particular, they are moulded in grey plastic. That is it for the wheels of this car. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, of course they do have the rubber Rio Rider tyres on them, and actually these ones are textured and they do have treads. Okay, so there you go, you can see the nice treads which do feature on the tyres of this car. Continuing with the side of this car then, I will mention the colour of this thing. So this car is painted in 2 different colours. So the top half of the car is painted in a silver colour, which is obviously metallic, and the lower part of the car is painted in a metallic grey colour. It's a quite nice contrast, and I think it is quite period correct. It looks fantastic. It's not very often that we do see Hot Wheels cars painted in 2-tone colours, so it is definitely something which I am happy to see, and it's definitely a welcome addition to this car. I actually also do want to mention that this colour scheme is actually based off of one of the colour schemes you could pick on the real life car. It was 2 different tones of grey. So the top tone of grey was a lighter grey and the bottom tone of grey was a darker grey. It wasn't as metallic as this Hot Wheels model, but it was the exact same colour scheme, being 2-toned, and there was 2 colours. That's it for the colour of this thing then, so let's talk about the tamper work. Okay, so interestingly, there's actually no tamper work featuring on the side of this thing. Instead, the door handles have actually been painted in the same metallic grey that the bottom half of this car is painted in. Very interesting there, because usually we do see Hot Wheels using tampers, but this time on the side of this thing we don't see any tamper work. Instead, paint has been used to replace the tamper that would be needed. Now onto the actual casting itself then. We do see the door handles actually featuring in the metal casting. They are part of the metal, and they are actually textured and do actually protrude from the body of the car. We also do have wing mirrors on this casting, very nice to see that there. I will also mention that all the windows on the side of this thing are wound up, and finally I will mention that the fuel filler cap does feature in the metal casting on this side of the car. Anyways, that's it for this side of the car. Now let's move on to the front of this thing. Alright, so taking a look at the front of this car then, there's a lot of detail here. It's something that we have come to expect from premium models from the Hot Wheels team, as we do pay quite a lot more for these. So let's get straight into this. So first of all, we have the headlights tampered in a realistic look. Those headlights do include the turn signal lights or the indicator lights if you're from the UK like myself, and they have been tampered in orange. The rest of the headlight is tampered in a mixture of grey, white and black. We also do have the headlight washer blades also tampered there in black, and they actually do feature in the metal casting. They protrude slightly from the rest of the body of the car. Very nice to see that there. However, it does mean that on the premium cars, when they are tampering it, they have to be very precise, otherwise it just looks stupid, because the tampo machine will miss it slightly and make them look like they haven't received the proper detail that they should have. We also do have this nice signature grille featuring on the front of the car. So we do have the chrome trim bits, which are meant to be done in chrome, tampoed in grey. The reason for that is the Hot Wheels team do not have chrome tampo. That's just something they cannot do, so instead they just tampo in grey, where it's meant to be chrome. We also do have these slits in the main grille, also represented there accurately through black tampo. Finally, I will mention a few things which do feature on the front bumper of this car then. So first of all, we have this nice black trim which wraps all the way along the front bumper of this car, tampoed in black there. Very nice to see that. We also do have the license plate holder featuring in the metal casting. It's quite difficult to see there. I will zoom the video in slightly so you can see it a bit better. And that is featured where it is being tampoed in black. Very accurate to the real life car and the card art. Finally, I will mention that the lower vent of this car has been tampoed in black. And we also have the lower fog lights of this car tampoed in grey tampo as well. This car really does receive all the details that it needs, and it looks fantastic in my opinion. The front splitter of this car does feature in the actual metal casting and is painted in the exact same colour as the rest of the car. At least the lower section of the car, that's what the colour is, and that is painted in a metallic grey colour. Anyways, that is it for the front of this thing. Now let's move on to the rear of this car. Alright, so taking a look at the rear of this car then, there's a lot of detail here, so let's get straight into it. I'm absolutely loving the amount of detail on this car, by the way. It's fantastic. So first of all, we do have the Mercedes badge, which has been tampoed in grey. I've already mentioned that the Hot Wheels team are not able to tampo anything in chrome, so anything that would be chrome on the real life car does have to be done in grey or black or any other colour that kind of looks similar. We also do have the 500e badge featuring on this car as well, tampoed in what appears to be black or a very dark grey colour. This car also does have a license plate which has been tampoed in white. We also do have some nice red writing on that license plate which reads Hot Wheels. Then the blue writing on this license plate does read HW W124. The HW obviously stands for Hot Wheels, and the W124 part of the license plate actually means the specific body style this car is. This car is actually the one that Mercedes and Porsche developed together, and it is the high performance model of the 500e. I'll also mention that this car does have rear lights. Very nice to see that there. Those rear lights do include the brake light as well as the turn signal lights or indicator lights. Finally, I will mention that there is some more tampo work on the rear of this thing, being on the bumper. We do have that returning black trim which wraps all the way from the right to the left of the rear bumper and is accurate to the real life car. That's really it in terms of tampo work. A few things which feature in the metal casting. First of all, you can see the exhaust tips are actually created through the black metal base. You can also see the trunk release button, or I believe it's a trunk release button, which also does feature in the metal casting there. Very nice to see that. And yeah, that's really it for the rear of this car. You obviously see that two-tone colour of this car returning as well on the rear of it. And yeah, that's really it. So let's move on to the top of this thing. Before we move on to the top of this car then, so first of all, you can see this car does feature a ducktail spoiler in the actual metal casting. That ducktail spoiler is painted in that silver colour, which the top half of the car does receive. I'll also mention that the rear bumper black trim also does wrap around to the side of this car, and that's the exact same story for the front bumper trim as well. Alright then, so taking a look at the top of this car then, there's not a whole lot more detail that I haven't already talked about, but there is a little bit, so let's get straight into it. There is no extra detail featuring on the trunk of this car. There is a little bit of black tampo work on the roof of this thing that is accurately portraying the real life cars trim, which does actually run all the way from the front windshield to the rear windshield across the roof. Finally, onto the hood of this thing, we do have a little bit of detail. So first of all, we have the Mercedes badge, which has been tampoed in grey, the exact same colour as the one which features on the rear of the car, and again, that's because they don't have a chrome coloured tampo. Finally, we do have two windshield washer fluid squirters there featuring in the metal casting as well. That is what those two little bumps are. Also, hopefully you can see that this car does actually feature windshield wipers. Very nice to see that there. It's a very small detail, but it does make a big difference to me, and it would affect my end score if it didn't have any. Very, very nice to see them there. Just makes the car look a lot more realistic in my opinion. Alright, and that is it for the showcase of this car, so now let's move on to my final thoughts and review on this thing. Alright, so now it's time for my final thoughts and review on this car. I really do like the casting. I think it's very, very realistic and portrays the real life car fantastically. I also like the addition of the wing mirrors on this thing, as well as the windshield wipers. Those two things being on this car will definitely affect my score at the end of this video in a positive way. I also really do like the two-tone colour scheme of this thing. It's not a colour that I would definitely put on this car. I would always think of this car and then put a black colour on it, which is why the chase is in black. But actually I do quite like this two-tone colour scheme on this thing. I do think it suits the car quite nicely. Although I definitely do think the black one does look nicer. And I think that's definitely why they put it as a chase. It's definitely one of the desirable chases of this year. I really do like the tamper work on this thing as well. There's lots of detail. They've been very generous with the tamper work, but that's to be expected with premium cars as we are paying more for these things. I also do like the wheels on this thing. Very deep dished, quite low profile looking wheels. Done in grey. Maybe they would look better done in a chrome colour, but yeah, I do quite like them on this car. And I also do like the fact that those wheels do have treads on them as well. I personally think all the premiums should have treads because every real life wheel really does have treads, or most real life wheels. F1 wheels, not so much, but you know, this is a road car, and so are most of the Hot Wheels cars that they do produce. So I do genuinely think that all of them really should have treads on them. But yeah, really happy with this thing. I definitely recommend you pick this thing up. It's definitely a nice addition to anybody's collection, really. And I know people who love German cars are absolutely going to be over the moon with this car. It looks absolutely superb in my opinion, as well as a lot of other people's opinions. But anyways, that does lead me on to a score out of 10. So when I have this car out of 10, it's going to be receiving a very solid 9.5 out of 10. Super cool car. The more you look at it, the more you appreciate it, and the more you actually like it. This set has been absolutely superb. Jam-packed with goodies. Other than that Volvo, I'm not a big fan of the colour on it. That's the only thing I don't like, and that's why I didn't pick it up. But the rest of this set is just golden. Anyways, that is it for this video. So if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Remember, you can also press that notification bell so you do not miss any new uploads. Remember, you can also share this video with any friends, family, and any groups who may be interested. But remember, don't feel pressured if you don't feel like you have anybody who may be interested. You watching this video all the way to the end means so much to me, and I really do thank you for making it all the way up until this point. But anyways, that's it for this video, so I hope you guys did enjoy, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye everyone.